Episode 90 of the Fire Coaches podcast. We're nearly triple digits here. I got Coach Rob Beckman joining us today. Rob is the women's basketball coach at LSU Eunice, correct?
Yeah,
Eunice?
Eunice. Yep.
Eunice. I was going to say Eunice, and I'm like, no, that's not right. It's Eunice. So Rob Beckman is the head basketball coach there, has had a lot of success in just a few years. He's been the head coach at LSU Eunice. He was at Independence in Kansas before that as a head coach, as an associate coach, assistant coach. He spent time on the men's basketball side at the JUCO level. He's coached high school, coached AAU, big Arkansas Razorback fan, went to college there. I think me and him probably were around the same time frame. I remember Scotty Thurman's Big Dramatics back in the mid-90s, if anybody remembers that name. So, Coach Beckman, appreciate you joining the Fire Coaches podcast.
Thanks for having me on. I told you I love the podcast. I love the name. One thing I say to my players every year, like all great stories involve great adversity. And I think, coaches that go through some things, it's just part of your story and it's inspiring. And yeah, so I love what you do.
I love that line. We're going to have to cut that and use that moving forward, right? Great stories. They always have great adversity in them. So, appreciate you joining. Obviously, again, you were kind of mentioning just before we got going here, how you started coaching like grade school kids. That was kind of really your first kind of experience into coaching. I guess what step took that further to where it was like, okay, I enjoy doing this, and now I'm going to start doing some high school stuff and some AAU and all of that?
Yeah, it was a really kind of unusual journey, I think. So when I was still a high school player, my junior year, I started coaching my siblings. So I was 10 years old, and then I had 3 siblings born like back to back to back. So I started coaching them. And then my brothers, when they were about second, third grade, I started coaching their team. First year, I was terrible at it. I was a really bad coach that first year. And
what do you remember that first year? Like, what do you remember? Just some of the pain points, or just doing it?
So what it reminds me of is when people, because there's that debate on social media, like you need to have been a player or a great player to be a good coach. I was a decent player, like a decent high school player, and I just thought by osmosis, my players are gonna absorb things from me. And I think what all coaches do when they start is they look at how they were coached and they take the best drills that they liked. And they're like, we're just going to do that. Not realizing like, it just doesn't really matter. Like you really need to like build your coaching skill set and learn how to teach people. A lot of players are good. And not even say me at the high school level, I'm more athletic than the average person. I'm not more athletic than a D1 player, but a lot of my athletic life, I just was built stronger, faster. And I think I kind of underestimated. That's why I was successful. So then when you start coaching some kids who maybe don't have physical gifts and just almost no understanding of how to even play basketball, they don't know where to stand to start the game. So that was kind of some of the pain points, was just how much they just had no context of how to even play the game at the most basic level. So going from year 1 to 2, and I did that for 2 years, coaching the second, third grade team, what we started doing, and I was kind of, I don't know, maybe ahead of my time, because a lot of people say this now, is like, play and practice, like actually play basketball. Don't do a million little drills. So what I would do, and again, I'm 17, 18 years old, but I would actually like be on one of the teams, not playing super hard, but just kind of help it. Like we would scrimmage and just kind of help the game go, just so I wanted them to get in good shape, number one, and just where they're so comfortable that when we go to an actual game and we tip off, they know exactly how it works. They know when it goes out of bounds, this is what happens. When there's a foul, this is what happens. So it's literally just, that was like the building blocks, was like, this is just how a basketball game goes. This is what our offense looks like. This is what our defense looks like. And literally we went from, I think, 1-9 the first year to 9-1 the second year, just by teaching them how to play a basketball game.
No, that's awesome. So you started your own AAU program. Again, you're coaching high school, getting into that, like what was that all about? Obviously, again, you go from one age group where you're like teaching the basics of the game. And again, don't get me wrong, I think it's funny in saying this. Sometimes there's college kids and high school kids who definitely need the basics. I mean, the real basics as well too. But what was that like, obviously leveling up a little bit with older age group?
Yeah. And what's funny too, I'll say real quick, is like, honestly, what I just said, teach them what a game looks like. I do the same thing now with D1 JUCO, and I send a lot of players to NCAA D1 schools. It's really no different. This is what a game's going to look like, doing our stuff, doing our offense, our defense, working with these teammates that you just got. So in a weird way, it's like, it's no different than teaching second and third graders. But to give you a quick recap of my career, how it went, I did those couple years, junior, senior year. I maybe could have gone and played D3 or something like that, but I just wasn't really interested at the time. So I go to the University of Arkansas, because that was around, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, but I was actually born kind of in the area of the University of Arkansas. And that was where my grandparents lived. And I just was always a big Razorback fan. So I go back there for college. I become a sports journalist. I'm thinking maybe that's what I'm going to do. I was an English major. Maybe I'm going to be a sports journalist. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I'm really into writing. So then actually I branched off. I'm going to be a screenwriter. I want to write TV and film. That actually became my dream. And I forgot about coaching. I'm like, I already did the coaching thing. I coached those second and third graders. I figured it out. We're 9-1. I'm good with coaching.
I'll leave in a good point, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it out. It's done. That part of my life is done. So I did the journalism thing in college and for the next year out of college. And then my family had moved from Memphis, Tennessee down to Florida. So I moved down to Florida. And at that point, actually, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm kind of early to mid 20s trying to figure out my life. I got a job in Florida working at a health food store, just a random job. I'm like a clerk at this little mom and pop store. And then weird couple twists happen. One, my brothers who are now kind of approaching high school age, they're going to play in this rec league, the summer league. This is the Sarasota, Florida area. A lot of good athletes, football, baseball. Everyone just plays in this basketball summer league because they all have free time. So my brother said, can you drive me to the first day we have practice? I drive them there. The coach isn't there, just never shows up. So they have a practice with no coach. My mom shows up to pick them up and is like, what's going on? This looks so disorganized. What are they doing? I'm like, the coach never showed up. I don't know. So she goes and talks to the person who runs the league. They come back, walk over to me, say, hey, will you coach the team? And I'm done with coaching. That was my past life, you know. My mom is like convincing this lady, like, no, my older son, he knows so much about basketball. He needs to coach this team. So they convinced me to do it. And it's a rec league, but with good athletes. I coached that. We win that league. And at the end, and this is kind of, again, it's just a rec league, but this is weird how life works. So many of the parents came to me and they're like, my son never listens to me, but he listens to you for some reason. This was such a great experience with you coaching this team. Thank you for coaching this team. So that kind of inspired me a little bit.
So that was the moment where the rest is history then, right? Like,
it's so weird. I mean, it's literally just such a weird chance. I don't even know what happened. The guy who was supposed to coach that team, he just like evaporated. He never came back. I don't know what happened to that person. You know, it's like a ghost. But and then going into the school year, my sister, she's in her last year of middle school. That coach quits 1 week before the season. And again, my mom's like, hey, why don't you go coach this team? You know? So I go and coach my sister's middle school team. Same thing. We go undefeated, win that league. And again, it's just middle school. And it was an unpaid job too. But it was funny because at the end of the season, so many of the parents, they gave me like a card, like a thank you. I was like, oh, that's nice. I opened it up. There's like $100 in there, $200 in there. Just like, we really appreciate you. Here's some cash because we know you didn't get paid. And again, it's just those things kind of inspired me. I'm like, maybe there's something to this coaching thing. Like it's not really about the money, but people's lives are better because I'm doing some cool stuff, helping their kids get better. The kid is having fun. The family's proud of them. Like feels kind of meaningful. So out of that, we had so much success with that middle school team that an AAU program in the area reached out to me and said, hey, would you want to be a coach for us? So I started coaching AAU for someone else. And then this job, Sarasota Military Academy, it's a charter school downtown Sarasota. They'd had a team for about 2 years, won one game in 2 years. So they're like 1-49. And I applied for that job and I think no one wanted it. So I ended up becoming a high school head coach. So from I'm totally done with coaching to coaching these couple teams just by chance to bam, I'm a high school head coach suddenly.
And then you like flip it instantly, right? Like you won like 16 games or something like that?
Pretty quick. So the first year was still a little rough. And just to kind of give just a little bit of backstory, that school, it wasn't a sports oriented school. It's a charter school for, the military academy. So they have like drill team and marching and all the like rifle.
So you might get a kid or two that's really into it, but otherwise you're just getting kids that maybe just are enjoying it, but don't have any skill kind of thing.
Exactly. And how they even made the team was there was like a couple girls at the school that were into basketball and they just got all their friends to join who like had no experience playing basketball, but we just need bodies just to have a team. So that's why they were 1-49. And it's funny because there was even like a little bit of a culture clash, like when I took over, and like nothing against this, but like a lot of those players were like like their families go to church Sunday and Wednesday night, like no matter what. So I remember in the beginning, I was like, hey, we're going to practice on Wednesday. Nope, we can't practice on Wednesday because we go to church on Wednesday. And I'm like, well, we have games on Wednesday. Oh, we'll go to games, but no practice. I'm like, what? And I asked my AD about it. And he's like, I don't want to get into that. It's like, let's not have a fight about religion. So I was like, okay, so y'all are willing to play games on Wednesday? Okay, we'll just play games every Wednesday. So that way I don't have to worry about us skipping practice. But yeah, that first year, though, was still rough. We went 4-21 the first year because I was literally trying to build from like the most ground level. Like they just, a lot of these kids, again, had played in rec leagues, coached by their dad, and they thought like, I'm an amazing player. I'm like, this is Florida high school basketball. It's kind of like Texas. It's like, there's a lot of talent. So like we really have to step up our game. And that first year, and I've done this everywhere I've gone, the first year I kind of try to meet them halfway. It's like I can be very intense and like they didn't know who I was. So I'm like, okay, I won't be too crazy the first year. But it kind of, the fourth win was like we beat a school in like the biggest classification in Florida. And that was toward the end of the year. And that was kind of like, oh, like we're starting to turn this thing around. And then that second year, I think it was just, I the thing too is the military academy, so it's not like, and I started an AAU team around this time, but I was coaching for the other one first. People assume they're like, "Oh, you were involved in AAU. You must have gone and recruited all these AAU kids and brought them to your high school because that's what people do." It's the military academy. All those girls were like, "Coach, we love you. You're a great coach. Not going to the military academy. Sorry." So I had to recruit within my own school. And once they saw, like, even though we only won 4 games, at least the team went from being like a total joke. Like, no, everyone was like, the team is terrible. Like 1 win in 2 years to, okay, like y'all are actually starting to do a little bit. And like they're hearing a buzz too from the players on my team. Like, oh, this is fun. Like, this is competitive now. We're getting better. So we became, my second year, like a whole different team. And that's when we won 16 games and I was coach of the year in the district and all that type of stuff.
I think there's something, so valuable that obviously in that moment you don't realize it, but taking a job that maybe is impossible or like maybe it's somewhat easy to improve because they've won 1 game in 2 years, but improving it would be like you said, winning 4 games total, maybe, right? Like this is, oh my gosh, we've never won this many games. And, but there's something so good about like having to start with stuff where you're like resources, budget, players, whatever, where it's like, okay, I really need to work and meet them, like you said, where it's not just like it could be my way or the highway. Like I have to foster something here to build it. And I think like that's the foundation, right? Like obviously you've had a lot of success over your career, but it's like, had you not had that experience, right? And you jump to a program where it's like you're assisting, as you mentioning, high levels of basketball in Florida, and you're an assistant at a high level program and that has all these resources. I mean, maybe your career doesn't turn out the way it has. It's like some ways I think that these early foundation things are super critical for us.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything because now that I'm in college coaching, so many of my friends, they were great players who just slid right into like a grad assistant role. I would not trade my journey. Like that's how I learned how to coach, actually. I always say that to, aspiring coaches too. I'm like, go coach like a youth team. Like you'll see if you actually know how to coach basketball. When I took over the military academy, it was literally like, this sounds like it's out of like a Disney movie or something. I went in first day, hey, where's like the basketballs? We have like 4 basketballs, okay? And they're in like a bucket, like a trash can.
Probably 3 of them are flat, right? Like,
Yeah, no, literally, I took one out to shoot it, and it's like all like whatever the fake leather is on it had all been worn off. So there's just like the fabric underneath, and I picked it up to shoot it, and literally the fabric is coming off, hitting me in the eye, and like blinding me. I mean, it sounds comical, like I'm making it up, but there was that, and just again, like a total lack of understanding of like, hey, we have to go compete. Like my girls looked at me like I was crazy, like we had got to go to war. I'm like trying to like hype them up, and they're just looking at me like, what is this? But again, it taught me how to coach basketball, and use so much of it today. Like people are shocked by that, but I'm like, the core principles are kind of universal no matter what level you're coaching.
yeah. So how did you go from kind of building that to how things ended there then?
Yeah, so kind of the way I explain it is like that school was, a small to medium school. Program was so bad, no one even cared. They're just like, that's why I said I think that's how I got a head coaching high school job so, easily almost was like no one wanted it. So took it over. We started building. Again, the second, third year I was there, got really, really good. We became one of the better teams in the area. Some of the big schools started wanting to play us. So we started playing some of those teams. I start my own AAU program and I get some of my best high school girls to come play for me there, which really accelerated their development because they just hadn't played a whole lot growing up. So now, they're playing not only during the season, but they're playing quite a bit during the spring and early summer. So a couple things. One is what's interesting is when you start having success at a program, it goes from no one cares to everyone now is like, oh, I think you should do it like this. And I'm going to have a hand in it. And, including administrative people. My athletic director who hired me is awesome. He still is a friend of mine to this day. And I kind of consider he gave me like a break that like changed my life because it led to all these things to come. But as we started, building the program, it's the classic story of, you add some people, one of like some of them have like rich parents. They own, restaurants and these businesses in town. And they're like, well, I think my kid should be playing. And he's pushing the kids too hard and this and that. So the good thing though is my athletic director, former college athlete, really solid, just good guy. He would
Understood
ask
and
me what's
got it.
going
Yeah.
on. He'd check into it. He'd be like, this is ridiculous. Some of these parents are just out of control. So I'm good because, I have, and that's what you need really in any job, any level. And administration, when people, complain, they look into it, they do their due diligence. But if it's just ridiculous, they're like, okay. So, again, I'm doing my thing, building this program. So the end of that school came with he left. So I'm going into my fourth year. We do all the summer workouts. We do our little preseason stuff that we're allowed to do. Right as we're about to get to tryouts for year 4, he says, "Hey, I got an opportunity to go to a much bigger school, better opportunity for me. So I'm going to leave." So he's leaving on a Friday. Tryouts are on Monday. Okay, so he leaves Monday, and it's a long story, but the new athletic director was someone who just didn't like me, and we just had
Did you
tension.
know in that moment when that AD was leaving that you're like, the guy who actually backs me here is now gone? Like, did you feel like, boy, here we go, kind of thing?
Not really, because I really make an effort any job I've ever had to just get along with everybody. The person who was taking over didn't like me over this really weird misunderstanding, and I even went to her and said, "Hey, like," because she was like doing things to like actively make my life more difficult. This is before she was even the AD, and I went to her and I'm like, "What are we doing? Like, why are you doing this? Like, I didn't intentionally try to do anything to you, and it was just this weird misunderstanding that you're mad at me." And she was kind of like, "Well, yeah, okay." But I'm thinking, because I went and had that conversation, I'm like, maybe it'll just blow over. And again, I'm just coaching this little girls' high school basketball team. I'm not that important. Who cares about me? So let me just go coach this team. But the first day that she was in charge, which was Monday, so it's tryouts, I do tryouts. And during the tryout, she walks in and she's just like watching. And I just look over at her and I finally walk over to her. I'm like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" And again, I try to get along with everybody,
Right.
like I said. So and she's like, "Oh, good." She's like, "I need you to come in tomorrow morning." And I was actually at the time working at a different school as a PE teacher. And I'm like, "Hey, I have to be at my other job." And she's like, "No, it'll be quick. It'll be quick." So like, okay. So we finished tryouts. It went really well. And again, I've built a bond with these kids now over 3 years. This is year 4. Tryouts ended. We go in the classroom afterward, and we had like the exact number I needed for a team. So I actually wasn't even going to cut anybody. I was just going to take everybody. So we do our tryout slash practice, go in the classroom, and I'm like, "Hey, y'all, I love y'all. Great tryout this season. Gonna be great. But I have to tell y'all something. I think I'm gonna get fired tomorrow morning." And they all like eyes got big and whatever you want to call it, fired or not renewed. Because the thing is, I don't even think I ever even signed a contract the whole time I was there. I think it was just like a handshake thing. The first year I didn't even get paid. Then after that, I think I got like a $2,000 stipend every year. And again, I don't they just would give me like a check at the end of the year. Like I said, there was no contract to my knowledge that I remember. But anyway, I told the kids that, and I literally went through every player because I coached a lot of them and like hyped up every player. Like, "Hey, this is what you're good at. This is what I like about you. I appreciate all you contribute to our program. And just do what once I'm gone. If this ends up happening, just do this. You'll be successful." I did that with every player in the room and just hyped them all up and just said thank you. I mean, this has been like such an amazing journey this last 3, 4 years of building this from literally nothing to what we've become. So the next day, yeah, I went in and they're like, "Yeah, we just don't like the direction things are going." And in my head, I'm like, we went from one win to, I'm now 2-time coach of the year back to back. We're one of the most competitive programs in the area. And but again, it's just one of those classic kind of political things where it's like some parents are not happy, so we just think it's easy. And again, it wasn't built to be a sports school in the first place.
Hmm.
So I think, even up to like the upper administration, rather than be like, "Hey, let's protect our people, let's protect our coaches," they're trying to make something special here. It's just easier just to get rid of you and just move on. So
Well, in today's world too, I hate being well, back in my day,
yeah.
but I feel like, and you'll know this obviously from coaching as much as you have, like the continuity of having, whether it's administration, whether it's athletic directors, whatever, it's all trickled down where I feel like there's been so much change in all of these schools, and even, whether it's K through 12 or whether it's college level or whatever, and you have all these people in and out of the door. And those people that, like you mentioned with your first athletic director, who was willing to kind of go to bat for you and really look into things if it's serious, but otherwise, like, what are we doing here? Like those people, when they go away, it's easy to just be like, well, we really don't like the direction, so we're going to get somebody else. And then when you do that, right, it just becomes this revolving door because that's always the answer of like, well, we didn't like what you did here, so we're just going to get somebody different. And then the continuity, everything falls off the table when you allow kind of everybody to have a voice of like who we should hire and what the direction should be. And so it's kind of a shame that way. I mean, what was kind of after that fallout? I mean, what was kind of your next step? I know you got into the men's basketball side at the junior college level, which kind of started that foundation there. Tom Parks, or State College of Florida, but what was kind of like that next move for you?
Yeah, so kind of how it went, and just also to kind of follow with what you said. I mean, that team, I was interested to see how they do without me too, because I had worked so hard. So I'm like, is it just gonna be self-sustaining, or But it's a quick drop off. I think they won like 5 games the next year, so they were kind of back to where we were year 1. And then 2 years after that, they won no games. They were 0-25. The year after that, they closed the program. and there was just no program anymore. I've heard they maybe tried to start it back up, but anyway, that's another thing too. Is like at a small college or a high school like that, or any small program, that's also too just for administrators. It's like, hey, when you find someone who's willing to work at it like it's an NBA job and they're getting
For
paid $1 million,
free.
even though they're actually getting paid $2,000, like those people are valuable, obviously. And that's coaches, teachers, anyone willing to kind of commit their time to helping other people, especially kids. Like, you got to see how valuable those people are. But anyway, I feel like, God has kind of like directed me anytime I've needed it. So like something like that, I was at that school. I may have stayed there a long time because I was like, hey, we're building this. I felt like a responsibility to those kids and those families to keep building it. So it's kind of like God pushing me, like, nope, time for you to go to the next thing. Like, you don't even have the choice to stay here anymore. You got to go to the next thing. And I talk about that even like I did go to like Catholic school growing up, and they used to always say like vocation, like a vocation is more important than a career. A vocation, you're called to do it. Like, it's not about the money. You're meant to do this. So I did not want to give up on coaching, but I was in a weird level because it's not like I have a million connections, to coaching. It was just I had built this one really good high school program out of nothing, which was impressive if people are willing to look into it. Like, like some people are like, where'd you coach? Never heard of it, without
Mhm.
kind of doing the due diligence of like, oh, wow, that's like pretty impressive to build a program that was that low. But that's what I needed. I needed someone to take that opportunity on me and actually look into it, which I ended up getting with and it was just a year later. Tom Parks, he had taken over at State College of Florida, and this is on the men's side. I was looking for jobs. I was actually getting a little discouraged. Like I said, I was a teacher at another school, and I love teaching as well. I just, again, just showing up. I was a PE teacher every day. We're gonna have fun. I'm motivating the kids. I taught fitness and sports, so just every day was fun. But I was like, man, I'm meant to coach. I'm meant to coach basketball. I know I am in my heart, but it's just hard to get jobs. As you know, if you're in this profession, jobs don't come easy, again, unless you just have a lot of connections. So what I finally decided, and again, it was almost like a conversation with God. I'm like, I'm going to apply to every job for a year, and I don't care where it is. I'll go to Alaska. I'll go to Europe. It doesn't matter. But if I don't get a job in a year, I actually started thinking I'm going to go back to my writing thing. That was what I wanted to do in college. I'm going to go back to that. So I kind of made that vow to myself. And within probably 1 to 2 weeks, I wrote a letter to State College of Florida because he had just become coach, and applied. And I was in those first week or two of school where the kids aren't there yet. You're just kind of setting up your classroom and doing those professional development meetings. I got a text from Coach Tom Park saying, hey, I got your letter, your application. I like it. You want to come meet me? So I was excited. Went over. He's master recruiter, very outgoing, upbeat guy. He and I are also like the same age. So he was like, I want to build this thing. I'm like, that's right up my alley. Like, I feel like I'm really good at building programs. So let's go. So he hired me, and that was kind of the beginning of it.
So obviously, again, like you talked about, I love that how you said about the vocation, right? Kind of your calling. Getting that experience with him. That year, college basketball, high level junior college, Division One. I mean, what was? I mean, were you drinking out of a fire hose? Was it just like the greatest thing in the world to you, being at that level and building something? I mean, just talk about like getting your feet wet in the college level.
Yeah, I think ultimately it was like a great partnership between me and Coach Tom Parks. He's a really good guy, but I think our skill sets were like totally different. So he was more of like the traditional, he played college basketball at multiple levels, and he's really into like recruiting. He's just a guy, like, you put him in a room and he'll make friends with everybody, and he's just very social. People don't really realize it because I basically am a coach. I talk for a living, but I'm actually more of an introverted, analytical type guy. So I think our skill sets were just totally different, but complemented each other really well. So I was more like X's and O's, scheme. Here's just like the really technical things we need to do to build a basketball program, where he went to work on recruiting, and he just developed great relationships with like the players and the community and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a perfect partnership where we both just had our niche things that we did. And together, all of a sudden the program went, it was a similar thing where the program had kind of been struggling for some years. And all of a sudden it wasn't all perfect. It started a little rocky as we kind of figured it all out. But all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, State College of Florida is suddenly a pretty good basketball team. And also too, I mean, credit to, like I said, his job recruiting. He got some pretty good players too. And that's, you're only going to go so far if you don't have the players. And we had some kind of diamond in the rough type players that people didn't realize how good they were going to be.
And you won the conference tournament twice, correct? When you were there?
We did. Yeah. I was there 2 years. We won it both years. Some of those players who, again, were like kind of unknowns, and I'll just mention a couple of them, but like Demoy Hodge, he ended up playing at the University of Missouri. and played in the NBA for 1 year with the Los Angeles Lakers. He actually played on the team with LeBron when they won the in-season tournament. Also played in the G League. I believe he's still in the G League coming into this next year. So, again, he actually, I talked to him. There was D3s that turned him down. Like, no, you're not good enough. He ended up coming to us. We had a player named Isaiah Dasher. He was from New Jersey, ended up playing on that St. Pete team that made that crazy run in the tournament, and they beat, like Kentucky and
Oh,
I think
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
yeah, he was on that team. And we had other players end up going D1, but we had some like special guys that again, no one knew who they were at the time and they were kind of under recruited and, we ended up finding them and developing them. And again, back to what I said, like the stuff I learned, like coaching second and third graders and this girls high school team where a lot of these girls had never really played. I feel like if you can learn how to win with them, then you get really talented guys who are 6'4", 6'5", amazing players who are going to become amazing players. Like the core system stuff translated. So that was kind of what we did.
Well, and I read an article somewhere too that you had said, when people had asked you, like, what's it like coaching high school to coaching college players? And you're like, it's still humans trying to figure out the game. And when you break it down like that, that's what it is, right? Like, you can make it as complicated as you want, or really at the end of the day, it's still people trying to come together and come together for a common cause and figure out how to play the game of basketball, which doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or you're 60 years old. Like, there's still the same way to play it, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, it's so simple, but it's back to second, third. This is what a game's going to look like. This is going to be your role. This is going to be your role. Let's practice it. Let's play every day. Let's build the chemistry with each other and let's have fun. I
Yeah.
always, that's another thing too, is I always like, let's not forget, like we all got in this because it's fun. So I've always tried to also like implement with the X's and O's. Let's play a style that like you're excited to come to practice every day and come to every game.
Well, you talked about just before when you were, applying, you're like, I'll go anywhere, right? I'll go to Alaska, wherever internationally. The next move you make is to go to Independence in Kansas. You work for Jim Turgeon. And is that Jim Turgeon? Is that Mark Turgeon's brother?
Yeah, they're brothers.
Okay. So you go there and you obviously help out. I think 3 years you were an assistant. You're a head coach for 1 year there, building that program. Was that kind of that same philosophy, or it was like, this is kind of the next step in my, coaching career and I'll kind of go wherever it kind of takes me?
Yeah, it was. It was a couple things. So this is the time we're heading into COVID and everything shut down. And I think that was a hard time for almost all of us. But basketball wise, we were kind of in like a bit of a shutdown. We were able to do a little bit. But and then also with Coach Parks, like I said, he was really good to me, but he wanted to bring on like more assistants and stuff. So I'm like, okay, like, maybe this is time. Like COVID's hitting, everything's delayed. He's trying to bring in, I think he kind of saw the future, maybe. He probably knew that I was eventually going to get an opportunity somewhere else. So he's trying to bring in people, which was cool. And also, too, I mean, just to be clear, I was still teaching when I was coaching at the State College of Florida. That was also, it was more money, but it was still a stipend. It wasn't a full-time job yet. So I was, I actually worked it out with my teaching job where I could get off by about 1 o'clock every day. So I'd rush over and I'd be there, the next 5 hours coaching, and I would work after hours and stuff like that. The independence thing and, how I became interested in it was Last Chance U. That's one of the Last Chance U schools with football, the second run. And I loved that show. And it really kind of opened my eyes to what JUCO was and how many talented athletes come through JUCO and how coaches also, it's a pathway for coaches to do something. So when it came open and I saw Coach Turgeon, that's the older brother of Mark Turgeon, and I knew a little bit about him and I just looked at his history, very, very successful as well. And I was just like, I think I need to try to make this happen. So I reached out. Same idea. Totally cold. Had no idea who I was, no connections. He just liked my application and letter. He called me. We had a couple really good conversations and he's like, yeah, do you want to come? Like, this is the call. I want you here if you want to be here. I never visited one time. It's middle of nowhere, tiny town in Kansas. I'm living like next to the beach in Florida. Everyone thought I was crazy to
Like
leave.
polar opposite world.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, it's totally different. Independence is like a town of like about 8,000 people. I end up moving. I originally lived in the dorms when I first moved there, which, you see on the show, not, the nicest place in the world, but it works. And then I end up renting this little house. Literally, you walk out my door, there's a farm with cows. Like cows are right outside my front door every single day. So definitely totally different world. But Jim Turgeon, amazing guy. Like, really, really great coach, great person. I really enjoyed working for him, but same thing. That program had been struggling. We go to work on building that thing up. And over those next 2 years, we did a lot of special things. We also kind of benefited from COVID because we had some players who were like there an extra year. So we probably ended up by the end having one of the oldest JUCO teams ever. Like we basically had like juniors and seniors on the team. A lot of internationals, a lot of special kids, kind of same idea, kind of overlooked kids. But we won the region, which that Kansas JUCO conference region is one of the most legendary in JUCO basketball, men's and women's. So many good coaches have come from there. Like we could just Brad Underwood, you go down, you could name 100 of them. Gene Cady, all these guys came from that conference. But we won the region for the first time in 25 years at Independence. So that was really special. Then we followed it up by winning the conference the next year. So just amazing learning experience. And also, too, for me, a milestone, I'm getting paid full time to be a college basketball coach. Like I'm starting to achieve.
You made it.
Yeah, I never thought it would happen. Again, I'm coaching second and third graders not that long ago. And here I am at Last Chance U winning championships and one of the greatest JUCO conferences in history.
Yeah, it's funny because we've talked about that on the show too before. Like, if you're a volunteer and you're getting paid nothing, and all of a sudden you get paid $5,000, like in a real job, that's like, making 20 grand and making 90 grand, right? Like in coaching salary, like people don't understand that on the outside, but to actually get a first full-time job, like it's people that aren't in the profession, they just don't understand that, right? You're a coach. Well, what do you do full-time? You're like, well, I do all this different types of stuff. But yeah, like you said, you guys win the Region 6 championship, first time since 96. Obviously you take over there, building a program, and you're there for a year. And then obviously you get to LSU Eunice and kind of getting back down south. And, so what's it been like kind of building your own program where, again, you're at a place that for the first time where you're starting it, as opposed to kind of sliding over a chair at a place you're more familiar with? I mean, what's it like being down in Louisiana?
Yeah. And to follow up on what you said, one thing my uncle has always said to me, it's funny, when I was in college, I actually went to a Chinese restaurant. You get the fortune cookies, cracked it open, and the quote was like, get a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I know that's an old quote. My uncle loves that quote. He still brings it up to me all the time, but it's kind of what you said. It's like making just a passable income, doing something you love is, in my opinion, worth, $1 million.
It doesn't matter then. It doesn't, I mean, yes,
like.
money matters, right? But like to a
Yeah,
degree, it doesn't matter if you're following a passion.
absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, Coach Turgeon ends up leaving. I become the head coach there, have one really successful year there. And just to explain, like, why did I leave Independence? I loved Independence. Like, the people in that town, even though it's a small town, it's close to Tulsa. If I got bored, I'd drive down to Tulsa. I'm good. I don't need to be in.
How big is the town that Independence is in?
It's about 8,000 people.
Okay.
So it's small, but it's about an hour from Tulsa. So, on the weekends, I'd go down to Tulsa if I wanted to get out of town for a minute. But I liked it. I mean, I don't mind the small town vibe. And again, the people there were awesome. Like, there's a lot of people that come to every game. They love the college, they support it. So I loved the people at the college. I loved the town. Basically, what happened was there was all same thing, some administrative changes, and our budget got cut severely. So our scholarships from where we started to when I took over was probably like 1/3 of what it was. So it's honestly, like, to me, like a miracle the one year I was the head coach that we did what we did, because we beat like Butler. They were number 8 in the nation. We beat them twice, actually. We beat some team, like nationally ranked teams, because that conference is just loaded with them.
Did you beat Dodge City too that year?
We did not. We lost to
No.
them, but we had beat them previously. But
Okay.
in my year as head coach, I think Butler was the big one. We beat Garden City. That coach, he had won a national championship at Chipola. We beat
Yeah.
Cloud. He won a national championship back like 2003 or something like that. So that was cool too. Again, like I said, I'm looking at myself like I was coaching in middle school not too long ago. I'm beating national championship coaches, and again, credit to the players. I mean, they won the game for me. I didn't win the game, but still, just a cool accomplishment. And even going in, like, even though I'd been through all this stuff, there is a little bit when I'm starting, like, am I good enough to be the head coach of a team in this conference? Like, this is like being a head coach
Like
in the
imposter
SEC.
syndrome type deal.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like I'm in the SEC West now. Like, am I worthy of this? I think I am, but we'll see, So, but once we got it rolling, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this, and my players were great. So, but again, when it was all said and done, I was like, how many times can I repeat this when our budget is this low, And it was funny. They were, and again, I love them. So, like, this is not anything against them, but they were like, hey, we're excited. We're going to put in new stands. We're spending $1 million to revamp the gym and put in new bleachers. And I'm like, I'd much rather that money for scholarships. I mean, like, we could have really pretty bleachers. It's not going to really help my team be better. So anyway, that was what kind of inspired the move. Was, again, I loved the people there. I loved my experience, but I'm like, ultimately, I need players to win games. It's the only way. I can be the greatest coach. I need the players. So the opportunity with LSU Eunice came open, and I just felt it kind of aligned a little bit more with what I needed as far as getting players. I'm not from Louisiana. Like I said, I was born in Arkansas, grew up in Memphis, but I do have an aunt and uncle that have lived in Louisiana like basically their whole lives. So they're only like an hour away. So yeah, went, interviewed, they offered me the job on the spot. I took it. We're back again. We're trying to build a program again that had been struggling. They had won, I think, like 11 games over 2 years. So
Well, and now you've won back-to-back conference titles. You've been back-to-back coach of the year. Kamara McDonald has been player of the year the last 2 years within your league. Obviously, and again, there's something to me that, again, if I've never heard your story, and obviously I'm hearing it for the first time, like there's something to me where you are a program builder, right? You love that challenge. You love having something as long as everything else aligns. So I'm assuming, and I know assuming is kind of dangerous, but I'm assuming it kind of surprised you how quick you're able to flip that.
I was a little scared. And one thing I'll say too, quick credit to my family. The way they raised me, they hyped me up so much that from the time I was born. Like, I think I can do anything. Like, if you're like, hey, how about you become president? I'll be like, okay, I'll figure it out. There'll be a way to do it. But yeah, so I have like incredible self confidence and belief. And it comes from my family because they've just treated me that way since I was born. So, but yeah, when it was funny, they hired me for that job in July, and then they said, "Hey, a lot of these kids are Louisiana kids. We'd love for them to meet you. Do you want to do like a little like meet and greet? You could have them even play, and you can see them." So I was like, "Okay." So we do that, and I see them, and again, they ended up being some good players, good kids, but it was summer. They hadn't been doing anything. No one was working out because there's no coach, so maybe they just weren't motivated, I guess. Everyone's in bad shape. Everyone is like 5'6" and smaller. So I'm like, we are very small and very out of shape. This is scary. I don't know how this year is going to go. So I gave a speech where it was get to know you and nice, but also, hey, let's be realistic. This is college basketball. You're all on 1 year scholarships. We'll see by the end of this if I'm going to give you a renewal after this year. Not trying to be mean, but I want to win. So I need y'all to be motivated. Today wasn't very good. Y'all need to get to work if we want to win anything and if you want to come back for a year too. So kind of a combination of like nice but blunt, like this is what it's going to take. So, but when I got there, we went to work right away. I like to play a really fast-paced style where we press almost the whole game. We shoot a lot of threes. It's just pace, pace, pace. I knew we needed to do that because we were so small. We had to kind of overcome that stuff with just toughness and speed and all those type things. And then Kamira McDonald, who you mentioned, she in particular was a really special offensive talent. She's the type she can shoot a three, 2 steps beyond the half court line.
Wow.
So definitely utilized her a lot, created a lot of, I'm the type of coach too. Like I'm very adaptable. So it's like, this is the group. I'll shape everything we do around what this group can do and who the key players that can really contribute to the scoring and the rebound, whatever it is. I'm going to shape everything to our players. So kind of went to work with that, highlighted everybody. And yeah, that first year won the conference. Only lost 1 game in conference. And then going into year 2, I could recruit all my own players. So I brought back a couple, but a lot of them were now my players. And then we went undefeated in conference. So we went back to back. And yeah, it's been a fun ride. It's been exciting.
What do you love most? And again, obviously, there's a lot of basketball coaches that listen to the podcast. So there's familiarity there. But again, to maybe the general college fan or maybe just a general person who doesn't understand like junior college and being able to develop players and then seeing them go to the next level, and follow a passion and a dream and all that. Like, what has that meant to you? Whether it was when you were in Florida, Kansas, and out in Louisiana.
Like I said, when I was getting started, to me, ultimately, no matter the level, it's about making people's lives better. As corny as that sounds, it's like bring joy to people. I'm a University of Arkansas grad. I hear Coach Cal actually say that, like, bring joy, bring joy. People as athletes, they look up to you. Even at the JUCO level, they're like, oh, that's a basketball player. I remember when I was at University of Arkansas, it was actually right when I got there, Matt Jones, the quarterback, had just graduated. If people remember him, very
Unbelievable
dynamic,
athlete.
dual
Yeah.
threat. Yeah, really amazing player. I remember I got there as a freshman and I was listening to these 2 professors talk in like the dining hall. And this one teacher was like, I love Matt Jones. He was the best. He like turned in his homework and he was nice and he participated in class. And I'm like, turn in your homework, participate in class. That's what you're supposed to do. But because he's the star quarterback, it's that times 100. He's the greatest human being in the world because he was a polite person who did his job. And I try to get my players to remember that too, is like, I know you think, oh, well, I'm not high major right now, so it doesn't matter, but it does matter. People are looking at you. So when you hold a door for somebody or nice to your professor, just nice to a person on campus or a classmate, it means times 10 or times 100 because they
Right.
look up to you, whether you realize it or not. So, but So we try to spread joy through that, but also, I've really tried to, I've had a lot of players now go D1, D2, NAIA. They're getting a lot of their college paid for. They're having these opportunities. They're moving across the United States, sometimes across the world later on. They become pros in Europe or other places. And all these life experiences and relationships and friendships, and maybe they meet their future husband or wife. All these experiences come through basketball, which is amazing to me. And these people who, I recruit a lot of internationals too, like players from like Cameroon and Nigeria and Africa, different places in Europe. Never would have met them ever if it wasn't for coaching basketball. But now we have this bond and this friendship, and I am their mentor and coach, and I help them do all these things just through basketball. So, I mean, it's just so special when you put that into perspective.
Yeah. How do you, obviously, we got some downtime now, but school's cut right around the corner. How do you get better in the off season? Like, what's kind of your process, or is it podcasts, newsletters, connecting with coaches? Like, what's the best way for you to kind of get better on a year-to-year basis?
Really, all of it. I'm a basketball nerd, so I'm listening to podcasts, I'm reading books. I kind of where I start usually is I'm a pretty tough self-evaluator too. I look at myself and my staff and say, okay, we're really, really good at these things. Here's some things we're just kind of okay at or not so good at. So like the things that we're just okay or not so good at, that's kind of the projects over the summer. So we need to, wherever it comes, the knowledge comes from, watching synergy, watching film, watching podcasts. There's so many resources now. Like I said, when I was starting off coaching those second and third graders, there was like coachesclipboard.net. That was like the only thing I could
Yeah.
find, I think, at the time. And credit to whoever that guy is that started that thing. But now there's just so much good stuff. Slapping glass, I love that. You go down Brian McCormick, basketball immersion,
Yeah.
your stuff. There's just so many. So yeah, just wherever I can find it, I'm looking at where I think my weaknesses are and just trying to build.
Yeah. In some ways, it's almost, like you made a great point, right? I got in coaching in 08, 09. And like you said, there was like a site or two other than you just digging ESPN articles or trying to find a coaching nugget or two. And now it's like, it's actually more difficult because there's everything out there. It's like, what do you tune out? What do you actually look at?
Right.
Well, I appreciate you joining, Coach Beckman. I mean, it's been fun to kind of get to know your story. Obviously, wish you continued success down in Louisiana, and obviously we'll stay in touch from afar.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. And again, you've had a bunch of great coaches on here. So I appreciate that. You thought I was worthy to be on this show, and definitely keep doing your thing because I really, really enjoyed the show.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.